pregame.com.
A Pac-12 college football action takes place on Thursday night. The battle between Stanford and Washington from Husky Stadium in Seattle. Right now, Stanford laying about 6.5 with a total of 48. Vegas runner Scott Spreitzer. Let's talk about this game a little bit. The line's dropped a smidge. It opened 7. Stanford the favorite. Both teams off a bye. We saw what Stanford did before the bye week. They kicked the tail back in the tush of the USC Trojans. And as far as Washington's concerned, when they stepped up in competition, they got destroyed at LSU. They can be forgiven for that. Came out the week before the bye and dusted off Portland State 52-13. What do you look for in this game?
Okay, I like Washington in this spot. I'm hoping the betting public, once they get involved, they're going to be on the Stanford side. That's for sure. The line coming off that key number of 7, opened as high as 7.5 at some spots, didn't stay there very long. So obviously the wise guys like the Washington side, because if they're going to bet a dog early, knowing the public's going to go the other way, you could rest assured more times than not, it's a true steam move. And we're also seeing some money on the under, and that also gives me a little more confidence in this Washington side grabbing points, because I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't think we're going to see an offensive explosion here, and here's why. When it comes to Stanford, I've done some work on this team because I had them against USC on our show. And what I liked about them was they were home. They have one of the best front sevens in all of college football, and I didn't think they'd ask Nunez, the quarterback, to do too much. They just give the ball to Stefan Taylor, and he'd run, 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 run. Their offensive coordinator says they've got the best running back in all of college football. Now, all of a sudden, you got to go on the road, and you got to play a Washington team. And I'm not really looking at the revenge factor, because there's not revenge when one team's kicked your ass over and over. Exactly.
It's been a total mismatch in the trenches.
So what kind of revenge could you possibly have? That's not the point. But I just think this is a good spot for Washington. They've had a little extra time to prepare. Usually you give an edge to defenses there. And I just don't like Nunez in this spot on the road. Before this year, he's only had 2 pass attempts. That's just asking too much. I think if they make Stanford one-dimensional by stuffing the run, I really think Washington could get it done.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, when you're watching the Washington defense this week, I think you got to focus on a team that is going to look to stuff the run, look to stuff Taylor and force Nunez to put the onus of the offense on his shoulders, which he's never had to do on the road before. It's his first road start for the Stanford Cardinal. His receivers and Nunez, they're not on the same page.
No.
In fact, I saw less than 50% of his passes have been to his receivers. He's been going to the running back out of the backfield a couple of times. He's gone to the tight ends. So it's a situation where if you're Washington, if you're Steve Sarkisian and defensive coordinator Justin Wilcox, you're loading up in the box. You're doing everything you can to put the entire burden of the offense moving the ball for Stanford on Josh Nunez, who, again, is going to be starting his first road start in a place like Husky Stadium. That place rocking. It might not be Quest Field in Seattle, but it's almost there.
Not an easy place to play.
It's a very tough place to play.
And let's not forget, Washington has a really good quarterback themselves, Keith Price. He's a dual threat. And although it's tough to run on Stanford, they're susceptible in the secondary. Their defensive back's the only weakness I think this defense has, and that's right up Price's alley. I think he's going to be able to bring those DBs up because of that threat of him running, and he's going to have some guys wide open. He's got a tight end that's 6'6". You think Stanford has good tight ends? This kid's 6'6", and he's a monster.
Right.
So I think Washington's going to have some success here. I really like them getting the points again. I'm going to wait till it gets to 7. I think it'll get there. And I'm going to have some money on the dog here. Looking at the under as well. But again, this one came down off that key number of 51, now as low as 48. Not as much value as early on.
It's a big test, first-time test, I think, for Justin Wilcox, the new defensive coordinator, the new coaching staff as far as the defense is concerned. Still got Sarkisian there. He's done a good job of recruiting. But after what they did last year on defense, they went out and hired a completely new defensive staff. So I think there's a little bit extra motivation put into this game. I can't argue with this one. So your free pick is?
Primetime football Thursday night, Pac-12. I'm going to take the home dog here, Washington. The line's 6.5 right now. I think the betting public, once they get involved, they're going to be on the number 9th ranked Stanford Cardinal. Push that line back up to 7. I'll take Washington plus the points. It's going to be tough for Nunez to get it done in his first start on the road against a good Washington team.
My final thoughts on this one, VR. Are the bookmakers telling us something with Stanford being in the top 10, yet being 50-1? To win the BCS title? Are they telling us where Stanford really should be ranked?
That's why I think the AP and what the odds makers think at times is night and day.
Right.
And I trust the odds makers more than the AP and the USA Today because their opinion isn't backed with cash. The odds maker puts an opinion out there. He knows he's going to take some money on it. So it's going to be a lot stronger than somebody just tossing out, teams based on politics most of the time.
He's Vegas Runner. He's going to be here with me all weekend long. We're going to talk Friday night college football, Saturday college football, Sunday in the NFL. And, of course, you can follow Vegas Runner and myself every day at pregame.com. We've got picks up posted every day throughout the rest of the weekend. Don't miss out, and more coming up on pregame.tv with VR.